Hello, thank you for watching my video on how to do a tag card. These are the paper stacks that I used. It's Couture from Graphic 45 and from Seven Gypsies, the ledger paper. And you're just going to take a piece of cardstock. I don't remember the size of it, but you just fold it in half and then just cut it to size. The rest you'll just use for scraps. Make sure you fold it well, and then you can use a bone folder to just make that fold a little sharper. And then you're going to cut it to make it look like a tag. I don't remember the specific numbers I used. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 4" by 8", but just cut it to taste how you'd like the tag to look like. And then just take a hole puncher, normal paper hole puncher, and then just punch a hole right in the middle. It'll give it more of that tag feel. And then on the sides, just clip the edges to give it that final tag look. Then here you're just going to take a stamp. Try to get a stamp that is very busy so you can give it a nice background. Here I use like a French script wooden back stamp, and then just stamp it all the way. I left a little clean border on top where the hole is, but you can do the whole thing from top to bottom. And here I just use Versamarker ink, and this is just from Recollections clear fine embossing powder. Make sure it's fine embossing powder, because if you use, don't make a mess, and if you use the chunky one, you'll just get white lines. You'll just get clear lines. You won't get those details. Tap the excess off, though not too hard or you'll get it all off. As you can see, it stuck really well. And then you're just going to heat set it. So take your heat gun. A little tip you can do, when you take the heat gun, make sure you blow off your project for a bit, like maybe for 5 seconds, because then that way it'll give it a chance to heat up good and it'll melt quick, the embossing. Because if you do it straight on, sometimes it takes a little while for it to get hot and it'll blow your areas away if they're not too inked up. And I hope you can see, shows a little there. Now you're just going to take, here I'm just showing what I used, Recollections fine embossing powder and Versamark ink embossing. And just do it right there. You can see right there the sheen. That's where it's embossed. That's where it's going to resist from the ink. Here I'm going to use Tim Holtz Distress Oxide ink in walnut stain. I don't have one of the little dabber things that you use with that, so I just used a makeup sponge. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive, and it worked just fine. And when they start to rip up, because they will rip up, just throw them away. I mean, you could get a bag, I think, for $3 at Walmart of makeup sponges. And there are videos online where you can see how to do your own dabbers, or just get them over at Michael's, Joann's, your nearest craft store. So you're going to start swiping from the outside in, off the mat first and then in. That way you won't get like a chunk of ink right on your project, because I want a radiant effect from the outside in. And as you can see while I'm doing it, the ink is actually resisting from where it's embossed, because it embossed in a shiny plasticky kind of way. So when you put on the ink, it'll resist it on the embossing and it'll just ink up the paper under it. So you get like this ghost effect. It is so nice. Okay, so now you're going to take your heat gun and you're just going to dry it out. I'm very impatient. So just take any ink. I use Distress Ink Walnut Stain, just normal Distress ink to give it a darker border, just to make it pop, to give it like a more finished look. Again, you can leave it as is. You don't have to do this step. These are the two inks I use: Walnut Stain in Distress Ink Normal and Walnut Stain in Oxide. And as you can see, both are walnut stains, but look at the difference between each of them. It's really, really nice. I love both inks. I mean, it's just awesome. I'm in love with oxides. I tried this one just to start out, and it's really good. And then next to the walnut stain Distress Ink, that's just a dabber I used. And here, you're gonna do the reinforcer for the hole that you did on top. Now these are just normal paper hole reinforcers, and I ink them up. What's good about buying it like this one, it's cheap. You can get them at like at the dollar store for a bunch of them for $1, and you can just ink them up to the, you can customize it to the project that you want, so it's done to how you like it, and you get a lot of them. I know they already come, I think, like this or with some kind of design on them, but this way you can make your own design. You can just leave them as is, and this will really make the card look like a tag. And I just put it on all sides, the front, the inside, both insides, and then the back. And these are just the bunch. I think here I have like 2 packs that I brought. Look at all that you get. And again, you can ink them, you can stamp them, you can emboss them. They're so, so good. And very, very cheap. So here you're gonna take, you're just gonna stamp a design on it. Now, use any acrylic block, a clean one, not like mine. And you're gonna use any solvent, archival ink. I use StazOn. There's other brands on there. I use black. You can use brown. I just use black to just make it pop from the background. And these are just some of the stamps I'm using. Again, Graphic 45. This is Bo Bunny. Here, I think I have yeah, there it is, Bo Bunny. It's called Flutter Stamp. It's so pretty. You can do a lot with it. And so you're just gonna ink up your stamp. Again, make sure it's solvent ink, because then that way it'll stamp on top of what you emboss. If you use any normal ink that's not archival solvent ink, it'll resist that what you emboss, so you'll see the letters through the stamp. And for this image, I want the stamp to be on top of everything and not just wipe away from where it's embossed. And randomly, just pick a spot. You're going to do it on all of the card. Again, doesn't matter where. If you did a mistake, you can stamp over it. It's in vintage look, so with vintage there are areas that will be distressed, that you won't hardly see them. So there's no mistakes, there's just happy little accidents. And keep stamping randomly. And again, since you are going to embellish on top, it doesn't matter if you did a mistake or not. So here what I'm going to do is just take the paper pad of Graphic 45's Couture, and it's a 6x6, and this step is just doing your embellishments. A lot of fussy cutting. Again, these paper pads, like many paper pads, have corresponding chipboard elements on it, or ephemera as stickers. Of course you can do that, save a lot of time, but I'm trying to go on a budget, so what I do is just take a paper pad that I like, that's very intricate, and just fussy cut all around the designs I want to use as embellishments. And just a lot of fussy cutting. It's going to take a while, but it's going to look so, so amazing. Also, not make it as bulky. When you do something like this, it won't be as bulky because I even cut out the flowers and almost everything on it. Now we're gonna take our distress ink again, the normal one, in walnut stain. And what I'm gonna do here is just ink up the edges again, just like the tag. It just for me, it makes it pop. It gives it a more cleaner, slicker look. Now you're gonna start gluing down your embellishment, and there you saw how I just used some washi tape to give it more detail. And you're gonna take it, and once you rearrange everything the way you want it, glue it down. And I'm also gonna be using, and again, the glue I use is just a normal um acid-free glue, so it's not anything special. I try to always get one that has a fine tip and a wider tip both on the same bottle, because in that way you can use it for finer items as well as for big embellishments to save time. And then I'm going to be using here some foam tape. And again, you can find them also at the dollar store, a roll of foam tape, or you can go to your local craft store. And the foam tape is just to make it some embellishments pop out from the page to give it a little bit of a 3D effect, but not as much. It'll make it bulky. There are some foam dots that are foam tapes that are just really, really thick, or you can just stack them. I always get thin ones because that one you can stack it together and you can control it. Once you finish putting on the foam tape behind the embellishments that you want to pop out, I just cut out a strip of corresponding cardstock from the paper stack, and that's just to make the word that I'm gonna put on top of it beautiful, stand out from the background. Here I took now part of the paper stack of Seven Gypsies. It's ledger paper. Just take, I use this because it's ledger paper because it's easier, because that way you don't have to try to have a straight lines when you write. If not, just use any kind of paper you have, or just leave the tag as is inside. On the other side, I just sprayed it with a little bit of glitter mist and cut to size. And here I just took the same butterfly stamp from the front of the tag and used it inside. Again, that's optional. And here is the finished card. Well, almost finished. I'm going to show you now that after this, I added, but I thought the camera was recording and it wasn't. But I just added some liquid pearls to the flowers, some distressed stickles in diamond, and I used glossy accents to give it an epoxy look to the word beautiful. That was the back of the card. I also used some sparkle gems for the corners of the card. This is just a close-up of the inside. And again, the gems here for the corner, I used yellow there. I used some clear ones for her necklace here. I love that little detail. Everything's in the details. And just to see how it looks with the foam tape, the distress on the dresses. You see the liquid pearl there. And just, oh, I love things that are detailed. The distress stickle in burgundy for the buttons on her dress. You can see the diamond stickles there. The glossy accents on the word beautiful and on the stamps. And this is the finished card. Thank you so much. If you liked it, please hit the like and keep on watching. Thank you.